Tribune. If you'd like to attend in person, there's still room, so come on down to Pioneer Hall here at the college and find a seat. Joining me are reporter Anna Frost from the Homer News and editor and reporter Carrie Rustino with the Homer Tribune. Also joining us are the candidates for seats on the Homer City Council. There are 3 candidates running for 2 open seats on the council. The candidates are Shelley Erickson and Tom Struzas, who are here with us tonight. Kimberly Ketter was invited, but emailed today to cancel as she says that she is not feeling well. Later we'll hear from the mayoral candidates. Now we'll hear from the city council candidates, and we're going to have them introduce themselves in alphabetical order. They'll each have 1 minute to introduce themselves, starting with Shelley Erickson.
Thank you. I'm Shelley Erickson. I'm a Homer resident and a lifelong Alaskan. I'm a business owner. I understand how to make a hard choice and live with it. Being on commissions taught me that business and government do not function the same. With government, the fix will take much longer. I have seen lots of changes in Homer over the years, and our laws need to keep up with the changes. I believe that we need to plan for our future and have realistic goals for the immediate needs of our town. Our homeless need to have places of shelter without penalty to those that shelter them. There are many reasons people are homeless, but we still need to be kind and watch out for them because it will get cold again and the elements are harsh. Being deliberate is how we will manage the fiscal crisis our state is in. How it trickles down to us will be interesting and hard, but we can. If we all work together on that which is most important, the health and safety of our community, we can manage it well.
Thank you. And Mr. Struzas.
Thank you. I'm Tom Struzas. There are many reasons why we live in Homer, but a common denominator exists for each of us who reside at the end of the road. The majestic and breathtaking beauty that provides a heartfelt appreciation for the wonders of nature and the cordiality of our community. I have always been a person who has tried to live my life so that when I am gone it will have mattered, and I believe in giving back to my community. The community in which we live and work is only as good as the people who live and work in it. So I'm running for council to help promote a more efficient, effective, and transparent government that can better ensure the health, safety, and welfare for all citizens. Homer's future is up to us, each and every one, young or old, rich or poor. We each have a role and various opinions regarding our economic and social issues. I have a vision for our community, and I will work diligently toward over the next 3 years as a member of the Homer City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Struzas. Now we have some questions for the candidates. Candidates, you will each have 1 minute to answer each question. We'll go in alphabetical order, starting with Shelley Erickson, and here we go. So I'm Daisha Eaton again with KBBI Public Radio. Everyone is wondering what your plan is to deal with the city of Homer's shrinking budget. I think that's the big underlying question. And so can you explain what your plan might be and how to address this shrinking budget? And please try to be specific.
That is a really difficult question because there's a lot of things that are involved in revenue streams and laws that come down through state and federal government, which like when we have grants, there's laws attached to those that you and I don't see in our normal lives. And so sometimes that makes what we would think, oh, we should be cutting there. We really can't because we're bound by some other, some higher laws and things. I think that specifically, I think that we need to look at each area that we are doing business within the city of Homer and make sure that we are not being extravagant in our lifestyle, that we are actually dealing with the monies that we need, not just going after extra things that we want just because it would be nice. When we get into these hard economic times, we really have to be careful in how we're spending our money.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Erickson. Mr. Struzas.
Thank you. I am resistant to any tax increases until all other forms of government reduction, efficiency improvement, and options for revenue enhancement have been explored. That's very important. I suggest that revenue growth come only through economic growth that includes more affordable housing, developing Homer as a health and wellness community, and improvements to our port and harbor to accommodate increased marine trade activities. And we need to make sure that all beneficiaries of our city services are paying their fair share, non-residents, visitors, and transients alike. And non-residents may become a resource to help pay for the use of some of our city services, such as our library, animal shelter, and even public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Struzis. And now I'm going to pass the microphone over to Anna Frost.
I'm Anna Frost with the Homer News. Where in Homer do you believe the ideal zones should be to expand commercial cannabis business? Mr. Struzis, you'll go first.
Thank you. As a member of the Homer Advisory and Planning Commission, we carefully deliberated the issues and submitted zoning recommendations to the City Council in March of this year. And of course, it was adopted by the City Council. This allowed for the 4 components of commercial cannabis: the cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and retail in the General Commercial 1 and General Commercial 2 districts. And since I was a factor in recommending those zoning areas, my opinion has not changed. I continue to support all components of City Code Chapter 21.62, which allows for commercial cannabis within the Homer city limits. Thank you.
I too was on the planning commission when all this came up. I think one of the unfortunate things about the state's timing and the dates that they had, they was forcing us to make decisions before they had even made the laws. And therefore, when we came up with that on the planning commission, we wanted to be fair. We didn't. We wanted to make sure that we started smaller, so we knew how that was going to affect our community, and with the zoning. And once we knew what it was going to look like, then we could loosen the rules. And I think still to this day, I still feel that way, because we all want to feel safe. We want to know what we've gotten ourselves into. The state has not finished making all the rules. We didn't want to be too loose and then the state say, hey, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. And so we were really trying to protect our community on both sides.
I'm Carrie Restino with the Homer Tribune. What opportunities do you see to create economic development in Homer? Mr. Struzis, you'll go first.
Well, Port and Harbor is a real gem out on the end of the Homer Spit, and that is a city enterprise that is a major economic engine for our city. The port is a critical asset that will attract new industry, create many jobs, and develop a healthier local economy. The addition of a barge mooring and eventually an adjacent large vessel repair facility will improve Homer's capacity to cost-effectively serve a variety of large vessels. And of course, we must continue to make our port a viable and strategic location for our U.S. Coast Guard vessels. As the Arctic opens up, Homer needs to be prepared to serve the expanding maritime activity in our part of the world while taking care not to damage the critical habitat and environment that makes Homer the special place that it is for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Struzis. And Ms. Erickson.
I love watching the entrepreneurs come up with different ideas for Homer. I think the tourism market, I've been really excited to see how we've been expanding that and changing our world with what is happening, just even with the fishing and how many fish you can get and what it looks like. We now have the helicopter that's right there on Beluga Lake. I've been really pleased to see that happen and to see the people come. I think that is one of our huge economic drivers in the summer. I'd like to see us do more conventions, and weddings is a big deal too, since I just went through one. But I also really feel like the port and harbor is a really big economic driver. There's just so many other smaller businesses that come in to help support on those different things on the big boat haul out. So there's lots of good things that are happening, and I think that we just need to keep supporting those things.
Thank you. How do you preserve the separation of church and state in city government? And for this one, Ms. Erickson, you'll go first.
I think that, that people of faith, that's part of who they are. And there are laws, and we have to live by those laws whether we want to or not. And so, really in city government, I'm not sure just where that line is going to be. I think that we need to be true to ourselves, because all of us have, whether we say we're people of faith or not, we still have faith in something. And so that line can be a little gray.
All right, thank you, Mr. Souza.
What was the question again, please?
The question is, how do you preserve the separation of church and state in city government?
Well, church and state has been separate yet together in some ways, because if you look at our money, it says, "In God we trust." And there are allusions about deity throughout our government, has been as part of our history. We have a mic issue here, technical difficulties. So, although a person's religious aspirations or beliefs are their own personal thing, there is still a connection between it, but yet it is personal. And I don't believe that government, especially at the city level, needs to meddle in people's religious feelings.
All right, thank you. I'm going to pass it to Anna Frost for the Homer News.
Anna Frost here, the Homer News. Homer is in many ways a polarized community, much like the country right now. But many of our successful politicians have been moderates, bridging the gap between conservative and liberal perspectives. How would you bridge that gap, both with the council and with the community?
Not sure who's first here.
Oh, sorry. Eric Struzes will go first, since we got out of order there.
Please repeat the question, please.
Homer is in many ways a polarized community, just like the country right now, but many of our successful politicians have been moderates, bridging the gap between conservative and liberal perspectives. How would you bridge that gap, both on the council and with the community?
Well, that is a very difficult question, but it deserves this answer from me. I consider both sides of the fence. We all have different opinions, but yet all of our opinions matter. And I believe in always the rule of 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So that if we can take something from this side and something from this side and compromise in the center, everybody comes away with something that they wanted. And I think that's a very good and equitable way to solve a lot of issues.
I think it's really important that we drop the labels that we put on people. A lot of times we can say, oh, you know, you're really conservative or you're really liberal. And when we actually sit down and we are willing to listen to each other and talk with each other, we find that we actually have the same goals. We just get to them in different ways. And that is what I've found over and over again, that when I quit looking at people through my label that I would put on them, that there's a lot of things that we do have in common. And that's the way I like to work and use it in my own life. And what I'm doing is to listen to what people are saying, find out where they're coming from, and figure out a way that we can both work together to achieve the goals that we are both really wanting to get to.
Thank you. If you're just joining us now, you've tuned into KBBI's Candidate Forum, produced in collaboration with the Homer News and the Homer Tribune. I'm KBBI News Director Dacia Eaton, and I'm joined by Homer News reporter Anna Frost and Homer Tribune reporter and editor Carrie Rustino. Now it's time for a lightning round. Candidates, you'll be asked a series of 10 yes or no questions and should respond as quickly as possible. We'll go ahead and start with Ms. Erickson. Do you support the bond to build a new public safety building?
No.
Do you support expansion of the Homer Port and Harbor? Oh,
We're going to go ahead and let. Yep.
This is
Oh, it's still me?
We're going to go ahead and let
Oh.
Mr. Struzes answer that too.
Sorry.
Do I support the new public safety building
Yes.
at the $12 million bond level? No.
Thank you.
okay. Do you support expansion of the Homer Port and Harbor?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you support increasing sales tax in Homer?
No.
How about city property tax increases?
Absolutely not. Oh, no.
No.
Do you support a bed tax in Homer?
Maybe.
No.
Do you support incentives for builders to construct affordable housing?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Should there be more stringent restrictions for dogs on the beach?
No.
No. People are responsible.
Should there be public funding for nonprofits?
Not at this time.
It depends.
Should there be more investment in recreation?
Yes.
Yes.
And this one is not a yes or no question. This is an either or question. Which is more detrimental to the community, marijuana or alcohol?
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
All right, thank you, candidates. Now it's time for each candidate to give their closing statement. Please tell voters why they should cast their ballot for you. This time we'll go in reverse. Please state in reverse order. Please state your full name and the seat you're running for, and you'll have a minute and a half. Mr. Struzis, you'll go first.
My name is Tom Struzis, and I'm running for Homer City Council. None of us are born with wisdom. Wisdom is something we learn along life's path, and it must be channeled to make sure that we make the best decisions. And we must elect leaders who have the courage to make those wise and very often tough decisions. I believe my life experience has equipped me with the wisdom and courageous leadership that can help our community grow sustainably in a manner that will be good for each and every one of us. I solicit your vote next Tuesday on October 4th so that we can all work together to make our community a better place to live, grow, and create our sustainable future. Thank you.
I'm Shelley Erickson, and I'm running for City Council. Why should you vote for me? I love Homer. I love Kachemak Bay. I grew up here. My mother came when she was 4, my dad when he was 6. My playground growing up was Kachemak Bay, and all the way around in a little 22-foot boat. That's how we spent our summers. I have watched Homer change drastically from gravel roads with big potholes to nice paved Pioneer Avenue, all the way out to the end of the road, following those cow trails around out there. And my love for this place runs deep. My love for the people of Homer runs deep. And I want to see it continue in a positive way so that our children and our grandchildren have a place to live where they can prosper. They can prosper financially, spiritually, and physically, that there's opportunities for them to come back. One of the greatest joys for me is watching my adult children come back and start their families here in Homer, and to see that the next generation move on. And that's it's really why I'm running for City Council, to watch that continue on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Struzis and Ms. Erickson. Thanks to the candidates for joining us. Thanks to the listeners for tuning in to listen live on KBBI AM890 this evening. We're not finished yet, so don't go away. We still have the mayoral candidates. This has been a collaboration between KBBI, the Homer News, and the Homer Tribune. If you'd like to join us in person, there are still a few seats here down at Pioneer Hall at KBC. So find a seat, come on down here. We've just heard from the candidates for Homer City Council, and we're going to take a short break, and then we'll hear from the candidates who are running for Homer Mayor. So come join us down at the campus of Kenai Peninsula College. It's the Kachemak Bay campus of Kenai Peninsula College. Welcome back. You're tuned into KBBI AM890 Homer. I'm KBBI News Director Daisha Eaton. If you've been with us, we've just heard from the candidates for Homer City Council, and now it's time to hear from the candidates running for Homer Mayor. This is a collaboration between KBBI, the Homer News, and the Homer Tribune. If you'd like to attend in person, there's still a little more room down here at Pioneer Hall. You can come on down to the Kachemak Bay campus of Kenai Peninsula College and find yourself a seat. Joining me are reporters Anna Frost with the Homer News and editor and reporter Carrie Restino with the Homer Tribune. Also joining us are the candidates for mayor, and that would be Mr. Lewis and Mr. Zach. So we are going to have them each introduce themselves, and we're going to go ahead and start with Mr. David Lewis.
Hi, my name is David Lewis. I am running for mayor. I came to Alaska in 1976, moved to Homer in 1989, raised my two sons here. I have served on the Homer City Council for the past 8 years. I was also a member of the Homer Hockey Association and was on the board when we got the rink built. You know, Homer is a great town. I think we ought to build the deep water vessel dock, improve the large vessel haul out, and to make Homer a four seasons destination. You know, right now we do really well in the summertime, but fall, winter, and spring aren't that great. And so to get more people to come down here, and I see that as a collaboration between business, the city, and the nonprofits. So that's why I am running, and I'll pass it to Brian.
Hello, I'm Brian Zach, and I'm running for mayor of the city of Homer, asking for your vote on October 4th. I retired from the Air Force back in 1989 and then moved to Alaska, and I've served here on the local planning commission and also on the board of directors for the Senior Center, Center for Alaskan Coastal Studies, joined a few service organizations while I've lived here in Homer, and participated in those organizations, getting to know the community quite well, and also have served many years on the city council. And I'm running for mayor because I believe it's time to reach beyond just the limits of here in Homer. I think we're isolated a little bit. We've isolated ourselves, and I think we need to reach back out to Soldotna, Kenai, Seward, Kodiak, and to the mayors of those cities. And through the Alaska Municipal League, I've had that opportunity in the past to actually do some of that myself, but I've had to fight as a city council member for the right to go and do that and to participate at the Alaska Municipal League. Yes, it costs a little money to do that, but I think it's vitally important, especially in these times of the fiscal crisis that the state's in. And one of the ways that I think we can fund that this year for all council members to attend the Alaska Municipal League would be to reduce on the budget item or a lobbyist position.
Thank you, Mr. Zach, and thank you, Mr. Lewis. And we're going to go back to Mr. Lewis. Again, I'm Daisha Eaton with KBBI Public Radio, if you're just tuning in now. And we're talking with the mayoral candidates for Homer Mayor. So, Mr. Lewis, you and your opponent have differed on many issues, including the use of a bed tax, I believe, and commercial marijuana operations in Homer. How would you characterize your approach to weighing such issues, and how does that differ from your opponents?
Okay, one on the bed tax, as we all know that most of the places you travel to, you pay a bed tax on top of a sales tax. When I was in Denver, they had a 13% bed tax on top of an 8.5%, I think it was, sales tax. You know, everybody wants something, and everybody wants money from the city, so you have to get it somehow. We can't always be just raising our sales tax. You know, people, no matter where they travel, especially in tourist towns, they know that they are going to be hit with certain taxes. As for the legalization of cannabis, I sit on the Cannabis Commission, and they have wanted a little bit looser rules than exactly what have been passed. They hoped for limited grow operations in the rural residential area, and they wanted to be open to having a dispensary on the spit, which was voted by the Port and Harbor Commission. I think it was 4-2.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Zach, would you like me to repeat that?
Got it, thank you. On the bed tax, David and I disagreed on that, and I do agree that many places throughout the country do have a bed tax. However, here in Homer, we have an interesting issue. We have a community, surrounded by other areas, Kachemak City, Anchor Point, and all of those would not be affected if the city were to institute a bed tax. So we'd be creating an unfair advantage for other businesses that are outside the Homer city limits that the city of Homer would not benefit from at all. So we could be driving some of our business outside of our city limits, which we don't want to do. City of Seward's a good example of a city that does have a bed tax, and when they use their bed tax, they use it to support the industries, for marketing, and they give a portion of it back to the city, so it does generate some income. I'm not saying that it couldn't be done. If it is done, however, it needs to be done at the borough level so that it would be effective across the board to all of the business owners the same way. On the issue of commercial marijuana, at the time that it was approved in the state for legalization of commercial marijuana, it also came relatively at the same time, as I believe as Councilmember Erickson said, to the city of Homer to deal with, and we at the Planning Commission level dealt with it, and the city council voted on it. At the time, I would have liked to have seen a ballot measure go back before the voters in Homer to just, let's hear exactly what you feel before we move too quickly in any direction.
Thank you.
I'm Anna Frost with the Homer News. The council has been criticized recently for not following the recommendations of many long-standing committees. How do you view such recommendations, and how do you answer to concerns the council disregards well thought out and researched recommendations?
Yeah.
Well, I read that question somewhere else, I think in response to maybe the Homer News, and I actually disagreed with the fact that the council hasn't acted in relation to what the commissions are. Sometimes we have to take a little more time to act on ensuring that we're doing the right thing before we act at that final level. For instance, last night or Monday night, we were addressing Port and Harbor raising the dues there, or the harbor fees, and we postponed that for one more meeting so that we get some additional figures in on what the actual impact will be on both private and commercial boat owners. So we have to be a little more cautious and careful whenever we do. The commissions are wonderful, and I think we truly do listen to them. And as your mayor, I will definitely attend a lot of their meetings, because I think at the grassroots level, and I can see so many people in the audience here tonight, they've served on those commissions, and it's not me as the mayor, it's not us as the city council members, but it's all of the people within the community that serve on those commissions, and all of the public meetings that are held and advertised, where you as citizens have the right to go to those commission meetings and provide your input. And so I think we were cautious at the council level, but we're definitely listening to y'all.
Okay, the committees are formed to advise the council, and then the council sits and listens to what the committee recommendations are. Then we hold a public hearing, and a lot of times, even though the commissions have held public hearings, and usually a number of public hearings, you are always getting people that disagree with those recommendations coming to the city council and voicing their disagreements with it, which is their right. And then you have the 6 people on the council that all have their own opinions, and we have to sit there and filter out our opinions, the opinions of the public, and the recommendations of the committee, and then try and come up with some sort of plan that if it doesn't make everyone happy, it'll make everyone unhappy, and then we have done something right. Thank you.
I'm Carrie Restino with the Homer Tribune. Homer is, in many ways, a polarized community, much like the country right now. But many of our successful politicians have been moderates, bridging the gap between conservative and liberal perspectives. How would you bridge that gap, both with the council and with the community?
Well, first off, I wouldn't say that we are polarizing. I would say that Homer is a town of diverse opinions, and as a council and or as mayor, you have to sit and listen to everyone's opinions, and then hopefully you can come up with a plan or something that, you know, incorporates part of what everyone wants. The beach policy was one of those where we had the coalers come in and they wanted to be able to coal on Mariner Beach. We allowed that for the off season. So, and that was not part of the Park and Rec's policy manual for the beach. So you just have to listen and try and do the best that you can, and that's it.
And we may be polarized a little bit, but that's what makes us unique also, and that's the magnificent thing that we have here in Homer that has attracted so many wonderful people here at the end of the road. Originally, I think people used to say that the reason a lot of people ended up here is because you couldn't go any further without paying for a ferry ticket, but I don't know, I'm not a believer in that. I believe we've come here, we see the beautiful bay, and we realize that we're all drawn here, and we may be polarized individually in our strengths, but we're drawn together almost like moths to a flame, and we have to protect our environment, and there are well-educated people here that we have to work together with, because we all bring many, many great strengths together. So we've got the ability within ourselves to come together over the issues that may seem like they're big issues, but in reality they're not that big of an issue. We do have some big issues facing us as a country, as a state, as a borough that we have to deal with, but I think we've got the smarts here in Homer with all of our people to accomplish that. And it's not one of us alone that's going to be able to do that, but it's all of us working together that are going to be able to pull that off. So it isn't that we're polarized, it's that we've got the strength within each of us to pull together to do good for our community.
Thank you. Deja Eaton here, KBBI. How do you preserve the separation of church and state in city government?
Well, within city government, I think we're careful. I think the clerk helps us do that, keeps us out of trouble, but personally, I'm cautious and careful to respect everybody's different choice of faith. And I know that here in Homer we have a lot of different faiths, and that's one of our strengths also. You drive down the streets and you see how many churches we have. You don't go very far before you see another church and another faith. But we're accepting of that, but we can all, but back at the city council level, how do we ensure that we protect and allow that? I think you just have to do that individually, knowing who we are and respecting each individual's opinion.
Well, we have the First Amendment that is the separation of church and state. We have had a resolution in the past that was brought up to have prayer at a public meetings. that ended up getting voted down. You saw at the borough level what can happen when it is opened up to all faiths and beliefs, and that caused just a wee bit of controversy here. So it is best to keep, you know, the religion out of the government. Unfortunately, the federal government hasn't done the best of job at that, but you know, they may get better.
Ann Frost here, Homer News. What is the role of the mayor, and how would your role change moving from council member to mayor? Mr. Zapp, we'll start with you.
Okay. Actually, in running for mayor, I've already started to be aware of the position of mayor and the responsibility that comes along with it. And it's more important as mayor to be careful, you know, not to give an opinion and be strong in an opinion, but to try to work with others to draw out of them their opinions and to try to, you know, let all different avenues of thought be shared. And so I don't come to the position of mayor with an agenda, but I'm open-minded and I'll listen to everybody's different attitude or thought or, you know, belief in what they have to share. Often we have to walk in another person's shoes to fully comprehend and understand those people. One of the benefits of having served on the city council for the last 7 years is getting to know so many different people with so many different perspectives about why they believe, how they believe, and what they're sharing with us. And so we do try to listen to that and to apply it, you know, through the public policy, being fair. And so I would work with a team to build the team of city council members to show that fairness. And I would hope that city council doesn't often have to, you know, give me a split vote where I'll have to make the final decision as your mayor.
The mayor's role in Homer is a ceremonial role. You know, you aren't the major head of the city. That is the city manager's job. You know, you can give direction to the council, and that is one of the main parts of the mayor's job. They can control the agenda coming up. The mayor also has to be able to run a meeting fairly and honestly, making sure that everyone is given a chance to be heard, the public and the council, but keeping it in a respectful manner. For the 8 years I have been on the council, both Mayor Hornaday and Mayor Wyatt have been able to run, you know, a really good meeting without yelling or screaming that you hear about other places, and in keeping the public under control and not being insulting to council members when they are addressing the council. So it's a very ceremonial role. Who's next?
Carrie Ristino here, Homer Tribune. What is the #1 thing that you would do as mayor to promote economic growth in Homer? Mr. Lewis.
I would encourage and work diligently hard to get the large vessel harbor built. That is going to bring in a lot more business here. It will increase our marine trades. It will also increase the population, because the odds are, if this is built, we can then be home port to a couple of more Coast Guard vessels. And as everyone points out, the Arctic is opening up, and you need an ice-free port to host a lot of these vessels. And Homer's got it. We have the good quality of life here. We have the ice rink. We have the new soccer building going up. We have excellent cross-country skiing schools, the college, you know. We have a lot of what people are looking for, so, you know, that's how I think we could do it.
And I would continue doing what we're doing because, when I say that continue doing what we're doing, we have seen sales tax revenue increase already this year quite a bit, $300,000 or more in revenue. All of the business owners that I've talked to show an increase in sales, so we're doing something right. So we've got to be careful to protect those business owners, to not put increased burdens of policies and procedures on them that are restrictive, but instead, you know, maybe even lightening up on some of those procedures and policies, such as giving incentives for, we don't have enough right now, low-income affordable housing for young families. How are we going to find a way to do that? And I think we can, you know, by encouraging growth within the community for the builders that want to build within the city limits and help build out the water and sewer. You know, that is too big for us right now, and that's what's keeping our water and sewer rates higher than they should be. Over the years that I've served on the council, I was definitely an advocate for getting the natural gas line here to Homer. I know it caused a bit of concern for some people who are unable to access it, but it certainly drives down the expenses of government, the cost for our schools, the cost for our hospital, and all of those, the hospital, the campuses at the library, we need to keep those jobs here in Homer too.
Thank you, Mr. Zach. If you're just joining us now, you've tuned into KBBI's Candidate Forum, produced in collaboration with the Homer News and the Homer Tribune. I'm KBBI News Director Daisha Eaton, and I'm joined by Homer News reporter Anna Frost and Homer Tribune reporter and editor Carrie Ristino. Now it's time for a lightning round with the candidates for Mayor of Homer. You'll be asked a series of 10 yes or no questions and should respond to them as quickly as possible. And we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Lewis. Do you support the bond to build a new public safety building?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you support expansion of the Homer Port and Harbor?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you support increasing sales tax?
Depends.
Yes.
Do you support increasing city property tax?
Depends.
No.
Do you support a bed tax in Homer?
Yes.
No.
Do you support incentives for builders to construct affordable housing?
Depends.
Yes.
Should there be more stringent restrictions for dogs on the beach?
No.
No.
Should there be public funding for nonprofits?
Yes.
Yes.
Should there be more investment in recreation?
Of course.
Yes.
And this one is not a yes or no question, it is an either or question. Which is more detrimental to the community, marijuana or alcohol?
Alcohol.
It's really the combination, but alcohol.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zach and Mr. Lewis. Now it's time for each candidate to give their closing statement. Please tell the voters why they should cast their ballot for you. This time we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Zach. Please state your full name and the seat you're running for.
I'm Brian Zach, running for the position of mayor of the city of Homer. And the reason I'm running for mayor is that I've served on the council, I've served on the planning commission, I've served on boards of directors within the community. I've got to know a lot of people within the community, and I also serve as a director of small business development. So I have some experience with what business owners face, you know, to be able to live here in Homer and to be able to succeed. I have respect for the Homer Library, the senior centers. I want to see the Alzheimer's unit get built out. I want to see the propositions before the voters get passed. I do hope that we do get a new public safety building. I want to lead your council as that goes forward. And I want to look at taking the $12 million and saying, okay, do we need to cut it a little bit? But let's make it happen. We've come a long way. We've spent a lot of money. I want to see that proceed. I'd also like to see us to continue to support our hospital and the Kachemak Bay campus. I want to see the port and harbor. It's so important to our life. It's really why we are here. The spit and the businesses that are on the spit, our tourism industry, got to be respectful of all of those because it's all of us pulling together this community what it is. I do also want to see all of our city council members actively participating in the Alaska Municipal League because we now, with where our state is, we need to be actively involved.
David Lewis, I am running for mayor. The reason I'm running is, one, I feel that everyone deserves a choice. I think Brian and I are different enough that you do have a choice. I also believe in trying to bring in jobs that give people enough money and benefits to where they have disposable income, and by having that, you then support your smaller businesses around here. Without that, you know, the wintertime and everything else, things just dry up. I support making us a Four Seasons destination, the port and harbor, 9/10 of what Brian just got done saying. And the main thing I want to see is people coming out and voting. Homer has a lousy turnout on voting when you have less than 30% of the registered voters showing up. And I think we need to have a better showing, and that's another thing that I would like to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to the candidates and to the listeners. This has been the 2016 City of Homer Candidate Forum on KBBI Public Radio. This has been a collaboration between KBBI and the Homer News, as well as the Homer Tribune. If you'd like to listen to the whole hour, it will be aired on Sunday, October 2nd at 1 p.m. This special production was made possible through a partnership with these two local papers, the Homer News and the Homer Tribune. We greatly appreciate the partnership. Thanks to my co-hosts Anna Frost and Carrie Racino. Thank you. And also to Carol Schwartz at the Kachemak Bay campus of Kenai Peninsula College for hosting the forum this evening and allowing us to be here at the campus. This local candidates forum was also brought to you by the supporters of public broadcasting on the southern Kenai Peninsula. As always, thank you for supporting your local community public radio station, KBBI. I'm Deja Eden. That's true. Good point. Do you need a job?
It depends. What's it pay?
Thank you for coming.
Finish?